How are we doing, everyone? Hope you're all well. Mr. Boulder here, and I'm back today with episode 2 of my mini-series on when bands changed in the 90s. Last week I tackled glam metal and hard rock. Today we're going to be taking a look at thrash metal. I've got 10 albums to talk about. The switch in style for thrash definitely came from one absolutely huge album which came out back in 1991, released by what is for me one of the biggest metal bands of all time, if not the biggest metal band of all time. You probably know what album I'm talking about. So let's get the elephant in the room out of the way first. I am, of course, talking about Metallica, the Black Album, from 1991. This came out when I was a teenager in the early 90s, and I absolutely love this album. I mean, if you were with the band from Kill 'Em All or Ride the Lightning, I can understand why you don't like this, because it's completely different. Metallica released 4 back-to-back thrash metal classics in the 80s. By the time the early 90s came around, they decided to go down a way more commercial route, bringing in Bob Rock to produce, which makes a statement on its own as far as I'm concerned. Bob Rock, of course, is responsible for producing Motley Crue's multi-million selling 1989 album Dr. Feelgood. And he also was an engineer on Bon Jovi's Slipping When We're Wet, which is another massive selling commercial metal album. So bringing in Bob to produce made a statement as far as I'm concerned. This album is packed full of massive hit singles. Enter Sandman, Sad But True, The Unforgiven, Wherever I May Roam, Nothing Else Matters. But as with all great albums, it's not just about the singles, it's about the deep cuts as well. And there's plenty of excellent ones on this for me. The Struggle Within, the last track, is excellent. Holier Than Thou, fantastic tune. Don't Tread on Me. Through the Never. A Wolf and Man, My Friend of Misery, stuff like that. Much more simple. There's no long songs on this. You can actually hear Jason's bass on this, which is nice after the complete mess they made of the mix on Justice for All. Just a fantastic album packed with great songs. I can understand why some people don't love it, but I absolutely love it, and I don't care what anyone says. I'll defend this album any day of the week. Metallica's a Black Album from 1991. It's an absolute beast. Let's go with the CD now. And it's Testament and The Ritual from 1992. The last album to feature the classic lineup. Alex Skolnick and Louis Clemente left not long after this album was recorded. I've been a little bit harsh on this album when I did my Testament album ranking, but it's definitely gone up in my estimation. It's no banger by any stretch of imagination, but it's actually pretty good stuff. Kicks off with Signs of Chaos on Electric Crown. I like those opening tracks. Really like Chuck's vocals on those. So Many Lies next, which is really, really heavy, mid-paced, great riffs, great vocals again from Chuck. One of my favourite songs of the album. That's a brilliant tune. I love that tune so much. Let Go of My World follows that, which is another good tune. The Ritual, good tune as well. Then there's a couple of tracks that don't really grab me as much, like Deadline and As the Seasons Grey. But things pick up with The Sermon, that's a good tune. Return to Serenity, that's kind of one of their ballady tracks, which is good. Ends with Troubled Dreams. Yeah, I've got more time for this one than I used to have, and it's never been a bad album. I'm definitely loving it more than I used to. Would love to get this on vinyl, but it's incredibly hard to come by, and when it does show up, it's very, very expensive. But Testaments, The Ritual from 1992, is definitely an album that I'm loving more than I used to. That's a pretty good album as far as I'm concerned. Very commercial compared to the other stuff that they've done. Bay Area and his Exodus, Force of Habit from 1992. These guys didn't weather the storm so well for me as far as I'm concerned. This is okay. I've got a bit more time for this than I used to have, but it's still nothing really, really great on this. There's so many songs on this, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's way too long, just does not need to be as long as it is. But it starts off quite well with Thorn in My Side. That's a pretty decent tune. Track 2, Me, Myself and I really like as well. But there's a hell of a lot of filler on this. Some songs that start, finish, and I just don't really recall anything about them. There's some better songs on there that I enjoy more than I used to. Let's have a look. Good Day to Die, that's actually a pretty good one. Climb Before the Fall. There's a completely pointless cover version of Elvis Costello's Pump It Up on here, which is by no means terrible, but I would rather listen to the original any day of the week over this. I much prefer Elvis Costello's original. Gary Holt's signature guitar tone is here. But yeah, there's a lot of very average songs on this. And even the songs I do like on this are just okay at best. So that's kind of damning it with faint praise. Zetro still sounds good on the vocals, but it's way too long and there's way too many bang average songs that just simply didn't need to make the final cut. If you took about 6 songs off this album, it'd be better for it. But it's bloated and way too long, and Ecstasy's Force of Habit is an album that I do not go back to very often. Very commercial compared to what it'd done before, and didn't weather the storm as well as other bands, it has to be said. Let's go back to a record now, and some homegrown thrash here. Zentrix and Kin from 1992. Zentrix is a thrash band, but of course this is not a thrash album. Again, this is one I've got a bit more time for than I used to have, but it's still nowhere near as good as the 2 albums that come before it. Going for the much more commercial approach, of course. The Order of Chaos first tune is decent. All Bleed Red, track 3, that's one of my favourites on the album. That's a little bit more on the thrashy side, that's really good. No More Time, track 4 is absolute shit. People often slag off Metallica because Nothing Else Matters, but listen to No More Time from this album and you'll realise just what a good song Nothing Else Matters is, because it's terrible. It's their attempt at a power ballad and it just does not work. Come Tomorrow is okay, Release is okay, See Through You is pretty good. Yeah, at best the songs are decent and I can enjoy them, but don't massively enjoy them. Chris Astley still sounds great on the vocals. There's some good riffs, but it's just very average. Like I say, I like it a bit more than I used to, but it's still no banger. And the 2 that come before it are just so much better. Zentrix is Kin from 1992. Their attempt at a commercial metal album is not a bad effort, but it's one that I do not go back to anywhere near as much as the first 2 in their discography, or the last 2, it has to be said. Some decent stuff, but overall really quite disappointing. Let's stick with another record, and here's Overkill and I Hear Black from 1993. This is Overkill adapting more to the groove style, which had become popular by 1993. A sound that was popularised by Pantera's huge 1992 album, A Vulgar Display of Power. Not a bad album. This is quite good. There's some stuff in this that I like. You've still got the very recognisable voice of Bobby Blitz Ellsworth. Dee Dee Verney's still here as well. And it's a decent album, but they're definitely better when they're thrashing, it has to be said. Dreaming in Colombian is pretty good. I Hear Black, the title track, I really like. Shades of Grey is a good tune. It's got a really good chorus. I like Bobby's vocals in that. Ghost Dancer like Weight of the World. Ignorance and Innocence, that's a really good tune. And the last track, Just Like You, is probably one of my favourites on the album, actually. Some good choruses on this. The riffing's still really strong. The songwriting's not quite as sharp as on the earlier albums when they're much more thrashy. But this is still a decent listen. There's some good tunes on this. Doesn't blow me away. I don't hate it at the same time. A good album from Overkill. Again, one of those bands that's definitely better when they're thrashing though. But this is definitely still worth a listen if you've never heard it. Some good groove, great riffs, some good vocals from Bobby. Not their best, but certainly not a stink by any stretch of imagination. Overkill's I Hear Black from 1993 is a decent effort from these guys. Let's go back to CDs. And now a lot of bands had trouble because obviously the change in the musical style, but this band had an even bigger problem because they lost their singer. And when your singer's got a distinctive voice, it's a massive part of your band that's gone. But these guys coped really, really well. This is a fantastic album. It's an album that I originally liked when it came out, but when I went back to it years later, I realised I loved it even more than I thought I did. This is a fantastic album. Like I say, hard to sort of come back when your singer quits and when the musical sort of styles have changed. These guys are up against it, but they absolutely pulled it off. And I'm talking about Anthrax and The Sound of White Noise from 1993. John Bush comes in to replace Joey Belladonna, and he does a fantastic job. His vocals in this are fantastic. They've moved with the times and delivered a fantastic album that I really, really enjoy. The riffs from Danny Spitz and Scott Ian are still good. Charlie Benanto's drums are great, and I think John Bush's voice is fantastic on this. They wrote some great tunes. An absolutely really fantastic album. Starts off with Potter's Field and That Only. That was the single. I like those 2 opening tracks, but for me, when you get to track 3, Room for One More, one of the best songs on the album. Such a strong chorus, very catchy. Packaged Rebellion, track 4 is fantastic. I love that intro riff. High Pro Glow, that was another single, good tune. Track 6, Invisible, I'm not so fussed by. 1000 Points of Hate is a decent tune. Black Lodge, another single. A much darker sounding song, quite melancholic, great tune. Track 10, Burst, is a good song. And then track 11, the last track, This Is Not an Exit, is brilliant. Anthrax's Sound of White Noise is a triumph of an album for me. These guys are really up against it and they delivered the goods at a very, very important time. The first album of John Bush, and my favourite with John Bush, has to be said. Sound of White Noise from Anthrax from 1993 is an absolute beast of an album. Definitely needs a vinyl reissue. I know it got reissued last year, but there was a lot of people saying that the sound quality was terrible, so I didn't bother picking it up, and especially now as it sells for about 50 quid on Amazon, I'm not paying that. But Anthrax, The Sound of White Noise from 1993 is an excellent album. I love that one. Great stuff from those guys. Let's stick with the CDs, and I'm going to go up to Germany now. And here's Creators Renewal from 1992, and I still need to replace this case. Now, I featured this quite low on my Creator album ranking video I did not long ago, but that doesn't mean it's a bad album. It just means that this band's discography is so strong that a good album like this is quite a long way down the list. Not going commercial with regards to some of the other bands that you've seen with the commercial sound, I should say. This is more of an industrial sound. There's still some thrash on this as well. The biggest change is Mille Petrosa's vocals. He sounds very much like Ian MacKaye from Minor Threat and Fugazi. Still some very, very good drifts on this. I like the drums as well. The drums mixing up with some decent beats. Good tunes on this as well. Track 2, Renewal, is excellent. Reflection, I really like. Brain Seed, 0 to None. Europe After the Rain. The last track, Depression, Unrest. Really good album from Creator. Definitely doing things a bit different to the other bands that were changing their style. There's no groove here. There's no sort of commercial metal. They're going for more of an industrial sound. Like I said, there's still some thrash in there. Still some good riffs. Mille's vocals are fantastic. Really good album from Creator. I like this one a lot. Renewal from 1992. It's definitely worth a listen. You know, get yourself an open mind. Check it out. Up next is a band that haven't sort of made the transition to a different style well. Here's Sacred Reich's Independent from 1993, which has got a few good songs on it, but there's a lot of forgettable stuff on here. So this is them going for the groove style that was popularised, like I said, by Pantera earlier, and very much with mixed results. I mean, the first track, the first song, the title track, Independent, is excellent. I love the intro riff. The verses are good. Phil Ryan's vocals in the chorus are very, very good. Catchy chorus, excellent stuff. Track 2, Free, is also excellent. Some more good riffs in that. But after that, this starts to go downhill in a big way. And there's a lot of stuff that I just don't care about. Pressure's a decent tune. I do like that one. And the last track, which is called Do It, I really like. But there's a lot of stuff now I don't care for. And there's some parts on this album where Phil Ryan is trying to hit some really high notes with the vocals. And for me, he just doesn't have the voice to pull it off. And the vocals just don't sound good. Not the best album in this list by any stretch of the imagination. Sacred Reich's Independent is quite a disappointment. And not even a patch on their 1990 masterpiece, The American Way. Sacred Reich's Independent, not so good, has to be said. Let's finish off with a couple of records, and here's Annihilator. So we're going to have to Canada now. This is Set the World on Fire from 1993, and this is an Annihilator changing up from thrash to more of a straight up heavy metal approach on there. There's still little bits of thrash in here, but they're few and far between. This is just really a standard heavy metal album. Aaron Randall on the vocals. I like his voice. Good album from these guys. Not as good as the two come before it, but still some great stuff on it. The title track is a track that I really enjoy. Track 2, No Zone, some great riffs in that. Bats on the Belfry is a good tune. Phoenix Rising, last song on side A, is absolutely superb. A fantastic power ballad with the Spanish flamenco style guitar solo, which just sounds fantastic. Probably the best song on the album. It's absolutely phenomenal. Night Jump's Queen opens up side B. I love the bass and drums intro for that. Some silly lyrics, but a good song nonetheless. Sounds Good to Me is another ballad, which is good, but not as good as Phoenix Rising. The Edge is a great track. Don't Bother Me is good. Last track, Brain Dance, is okay, but it's got some dumb lyrics in it, which let it down a little bit, but I still enjoy the song. Obviously, Jeff Walt's here, so the guitar work, whether it's riffs or solo, is absolutely fantastic. Wayne Darley on the bass. This is his last album with the band. The bass playing is great, as always, with Wayne's playing. You've got Mike Mangini here on the drums, but I don't think he played on the entire album. I think the original drummer Ray Hartman played on some of the songs. Decent effort from Annihilator. I like this one. Like I say, not as good as the two that come before it, but Set the World on Fire, which is the first Annihilator album I ever heard. It's an album that I do enjoy, it has to be said. A straight up heavy metal approach. A couple of tracks are a little bit on the weak side, but on the whole, I really enjoy it. Not a bad album from these guys at all. Definitely worth a listen if you've never checked it out. And the last one is an album that's massively important to me, and here's Megadeth's Countdown to Extinction from 1992. I was a music fan before this album came out, but once it got to this album, and I don't know why it's this album, because it's not my favourite Megadeth album at all, but after this album, as far as music goes, I was all in. All the money that I earned from doing sort of jobs around the house when I was younger went to buying music, and I bought all the singles from this album and listened to them to death. Great album. Produced by Max Norman, who also produced Rust in Peace. I think he also produced Ozzy's Bark of the Moon. He's done loads of stuff. Production's very good. I love the sound on this record. Nick Menza, Rest in Peace. Drums sound amazing. Dave Ellison's bass sounds great as well. The bass sound on this album is fantastic. And of course, the guitar work from Dave Mustaine and Marty Friedman is of course phenomenal. Great solos, great riffs. Much more commercial sounding affair, of course. After Rust in Peace, it kicks off with Skin of My Teeth, which is a great tune. That riff's definitely kind of a bluesy riff, but doesn't really sound like it with all that distortion on there. Symphony of Destruction, track 2, it's always got a place in my heart because that's the first guitar riff I ever learned to play. Architecture of Aggression, track 3, is an underrated song that never gets talked about. It's a lovely little instrumental breaking out with the guitars and the bass are doing some great work together. For Closure of a Dream, track 4, fantastic stuff. Sweat and Bullets, that was a single, great tune. I love the vocal style in that song. Title track's good. High Speed Dirt, Psychotron, Ashes in Your Mouth. Not the best Megadeth album, but I really enjoy it. And another band that made the transition to a more commercial sound. They did a good job of the transition from the thrash to the commercial sound. Better than some of the bands on this in this video, has to be said. So that's the last album to talk about. So let me just get stuff into some kind of order. We'll do a quick album ranking of this lot. So the weakest one for me here is definitely Sacred Rights Independent. A couple of good tunes, but a lot of forgetful stuff that I don't care about. Up next is Exodus, Force of Habit from 92. First two are really good. A couple of decent ones amongst the others, but a lot of shit that I don't care for. Zentrix, Kin. Not a bad album. Some decent tunes on it, but some stuff that's really not very good at all. What else have we got here? Overkill, I Hear Black. Moving from the thrash sound to the groove sound, with some decent results. Not a bad album at all. It won't blow you away, but it's certainly not a bad album. Creator, Renewal. More of an industrial sound. Great vocals from Millie Petroza. Some good songs on that. I like that one. So let's go with this one. Testament, The Ritual. Lots of really good songs in this, especially So Many Lies. Excellent song. Really, really heavy. Some other good tunes on it as well that I really enjoy. An album that's definitely grown on me a little bit over the years. Number 4, Annihilator, Set the World on Fire. No Zone, Bats in the Belfry, Night Jumps Queen, Phoenix Rising. Some good tunes on this. Straight up heavy metal from Annihilator. Not a bad album at all. 3 left to go. Number 3, Megadeth, Countdown to Extinction. Excellent album, very important to me. Not their best, but plenty of good stuff on this. A band that transitioned from thrash to the more commercial side with a lot of success as far as I'm concerned. Number 2, Anthrax, The Sound of White Noise, excellent album. Room for One More, Pottersfield, Black Lodge, This Is Not an Exit, etc. First album with John Bush, excellent stuff. Really, really like that album. Number one is the much hated The Black Album from Metallica, but not hated by me. Fantastic stuff. A commercial metal album with no bad songs on it. An album I can listen to this day from start to finish and enjoy every single moment of it. Great stuff. Great vocals from James. Catchy songs. Like I say, you can hear Jason's bass, which is nice. Lars's drums are fine, has to be said. But that's my number one of these albums I've just shown in this video today. The Black Album, superb stuff as far as I'm concerned. Right guys, so that's it for today's video. Thanks very much for watching. As per usual, get in the comment section. Let me know what you think about these albums if you've heard them. I shall be back next week with episode 3, where I'll be looking at some death metal albums when the death metal bands changed up their sound in the 90s. Cheers for watching right to the end. As always, it's very much appreciated. I shall see you next week for part 3. So until then, as per usual, cheers, take care, and I'll see you soon.